into the chat, and we'll answer the most upvote questions at the end of the session. We'll also have a poll coming up, so keep your eyes out for that. At the end of this webinar, we will also have a survey. Mainly, we want to know if you enjoyed the webinar or if you have any feedback to us. And we will also share the recording to you by email afterwards. So here's a short introduction overview of our session today. So like mentioned, if you have some questions already, feel free to drop them to the chat. With that in mind, let's get started. Welcome everyone to the MMM for Marketing Executives with Supermetrics and Dentsu. Let's meet the speakers. So Jarle, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jarle Alvheim. I'm head of data technology in Dentsu, Norway, which is more or less working with the data warehousing and all the Supermetrics connectors. And that's me.
Hello, my name is Geir Vikane. I work as head of performance in Dentsu, Norway. So I work with our clients across the digital channels and been working a lot with reporting for several years and now work with sales modeling.
And I'm Alessandro. I'm product manager here at Supermetrics, basically focusing on marketing mix modeling related products.
And finally, my name is Linda. I'll be your host and moderator today. I'm a paid social media manager also here at Supermetrics. So Jarle, could you tell audience about Dentsu?
Yeah, I can. I think Dentsu is for quite a few marketers a known company. We are an agency within the disciplines creativity, media, and CXM. Maybe Dentsu itself is not that known, but we are probably more known by our brands, Carrot, iProspect, Merkle, and Dentsu X. And we are in Norway, we are 300 specialists. By that, we're also the largest media agency in the country. And globally, we have around 60,000 employees represented in 145 countries. Globally, we are working on quite many familiar brands like Heineken, Zalando, Arla, Polestar, MasterCard, just to mention a few.
Thank you. I will also give you a short introduction about Supermetrics before we will jump into the topic. So who we are and what we do here at Supermetrics. So Supermetrics helps marketers and analysts to automate their data from different sources to their reporting tools. We are helping over 17,000 marketers and analysts with their marketing data, including Groupon, Dentsu, Radio Canada, and Dyson, etc. So today, Dentsu will tell us how they use Supermetrics for MMM. But let's start with some background information. Why are we having this discussion about MMM? Alessandro, could you share where we are today with the privacy regulations and how it affects marketing?
Yes, sure. So in the past years, we have seen institutions around the world introducing new regulation to protect the privacies of their own citizens. Basically limiting the access of their data. And then we have seen in the mobile business, Apple really focusing now on privacy. And when they introduced iOS 14 a couple of years ago, they really start to limiting the ad tracking at the user level. So we know also that Google is following in the market, so meaning that they are really focused on privacy also for their Android devices. They are now in beta with their solution. The solution is slightly different. They have a slightly different proposal than Apple, but they are still focusing on privacy as well. And we know that also Google is working for bringing the same limitation to their web ecosystem. So basically by deprecating third-party cookies in their Chrome browser. So we are, we see from the picture, we are still in the transition period, but the path is clear. We know that those big two giants, Apple and Google, are working in that direction, the privacy direction. So that what does it mean? So it means that user level tracking and user level targeting, it will be really, really difficult in the future for the targeting audience. So in online marketing, we have been used to track users through the different channels. So and this was really important because we were able to track the full conversion path to a single user. Whatever algorithm we were able to apply to the conversion path, whatever it has been for attribution, whatever will be a last touch based on last click or last view, or more sophisticated multi-touch attribution. All these algorithms, anyway, they were based on the tracking data that we were getting from the different channels. So this little by little will fade away because we know that the big guys are going in that direction. So, and we also see in the market that some players are trying really to keep the system up as it is, with some kind of workaround with the fingerprinting and these kind of things, really to identify the user. But we know that the Apple and Facebook, sorry, Apple and Google are really going toward that direction, the direction of the privacy. So that means that we need new tools. The tools that we have right now, they are not enough. We need additional tools in order to keep having an effective marketing. And marketing mix modeling, MMM, is a good candidate for this. So MMM is not new in the market, has been used for many years to measure the attribution of offline marketing, basically in offline channels like TV and radio, for example. And now that we know that also online marketing is going to face the same limitations, is an opportunity to merge the attribution process in one process and try to combine both online and offline marketing. But what is MMM? MMM is a top-down approach based on statistical analytics on historical data. And it's able to predict which factors, including also the spend in the different ad channels, which factors are basically affecting sales or any other conversion KPIs. And since it's based on historical data, we are able, a certain time, a certain period, we are able with MMM to figure out what is the user acquisition saturation of each channel. So we can use MMM as a budget optimization for the future. I give you one example. For example, this month, my advertisement in TikTok is not performing really well. What about if I move 10% of my budget to Facebook for the next month? With MMM, we are able to predict what it will be the outcome of this move. So this in general, what has been privacy and why MMM is relevant right now. We have seen in the market emerging different solutions related to MMM. Some of the solutions are really focusing on some aspect of the MMM. Some other solutions are really focusing on specific use cases. And here we are here from one of these solutions is provided by Dentsu, and we are here to learn more from Dentsu.
Yeah, so Alessandro just talked about the challenges with digital marketing today. So Gair, I'd like to hear Dentsu's perspective. What challenges do you see marketing leaders facing?
That's a really good question, because there are several challenges that we and our clients see regarding reporting these days. It's complicated to find a system that gives us both offline and digital channels in one report. We struggle to find objective reporting, and the lifetime of the cookie will of course continue to be an issue. The most important part that we discuss more and more often with our clients is how much of the sales is affected by paid media and what part is sales that we think will come anyway. So our solution here is a marketing mix model, but it has to be done in a different way than before. Because historically, you start to do the planning for this, you collect the data, you do the modeling, and maybe when the answer is ready for the client, they have started to do new things in their marketing, and we aren't able to fix the issues that we want to solve. And Alessandro, you talked about attribution earlier, but since attribution is quite complex, so we're going to have another go at it. And I guess everybody knows who this guy is by now, so who is better to explain something complex than the guy that makes football look quite easy these days. So if you can imagine, in a stadium, there are 3 different systems watching a game, and they all look at the world in a different way. So Google Analytics, they see Haaland scoring a goal and attributes the goal to him. And then we also have Facebook watching the same game, but they also see that Kevin De Bruyne makes the pass to Haaland and gives us 2 conversions. But other channels here, just represented with Snapchat, shows us that Cancelo makes it possible for De Bruyne to make the pass, and they give us 3 conversions. So as you can understand, it's a difficult issue for us, and it's hard to know what to tell our clients. It doesn't make it any easier by looking at the rest of the customer journey. So what we just shown you with the attribution, that's just part of the customer journey. But in addition, we have TV, radio, programmatic display, and several other clients that also play the part. And we believe that all channels are attributed in some way to the conversion, but how much per channel, that's the question that we need the answer for. So it's like Pep Guardiola, who is the manager for Manchester City. We need to find which player does the best job in every position on the pitch. But as I talked about, we have to shed some light on another issue that the whole industry should be more aware of. How much does paid media affect the sales? So here we have just tried to explain it with a campaign across Facebook and Snapchat, where we want to make people buy ice cream. In both cases, we have the same investment. And by looking at this, it's quite easy to say that the weather is the reason why we sell more ice cream in the top example. But our biggest issue is that when we do reporting these days, we don't consider other things than the amount we have spent and the contribution that comes from those channels. So what we have to look at, we base our results on all the conversions coming in, but we have to get an understanding on how many sales that will come anyway, based on different factors like price, product, weather, and so on. So that's the short-term issues that we have been looking on. But we also have to find a way to see the long term as well, and it's possible to solve. And one of the parts that we can affect long term is brand with paid media. But we need to find out how much does the brand affect the base sales? What is the share of brand in base sales? And if we can find which brand parameters that affects brand the most, it should also be possible to say something about which channels that does the best job long term as well.
Yeah, so Alessandro and Geir, you mentioned how the privacy and attribution challenges make MMM more relevant than ever. Are there any other reasons why marketing leaders should look into it now?
I think automation is the key point here compared to the traditional MMM what has been in the past. So traditionally, a lot of work in order to use MMM, it was done in the past related to how to retrieve the data, how to transform the data, how to merge the data, how to normalize the data to the different channels, and so that it can be used as an input for training the machine learning model, the MMM model. And this is what we are trying to do here in Supermetrics. We are trying to, where it's possible, of course, we are trying to optimize the full process when it comes related to the data. And the goal should be these three bullets that we are presenting in the slide. One, full automation, so that we have a constant updated model, not a model that is trained once or twice a year. So we have real-time data coming, and we can train the model for the next month budget allocation or for the next week. The second is really validating the model. We are able now with Supermetrics to deliver to the different MMM solution real-time conversion data, so that the customer can really see what the model has predict in the coming weeks or in the coming month, and what is the real data, the real sales, or the real, the other KPIs that are coming in real time, so that you can see, is the model correct? Is the prediction correct? Is the trend of sales in line with what the trend of the model? And the latest, but really important part is really like lowering the price. If we are able to remove a lot of the manual work in the process when we formalize and we will prepare the data, and we try to automate, and we will automate most of the process, we are also able to lower the price and make MMM more accessible for at least a bigger audience. So not only enterprise or big customer, but also middle-sized and smaller company can have access to MMM solutions.
Yeah, so now we have talked about what MMM is and how it is a better approach to measurement. So Jarle, could you share how you guys are doing MMM at Dentsu?
Yeah, I'll do. I'll talk about the infrastructural part of it, and I think it's very well illustrated with the iceberg. And both Alessandro and Geir has talked about the manpower goes into and the money that goes into the process. Historically, and I think this is known for everyone in the room, I guess, who has done any kind of sales modeling in the past, MMM, so that kind of stuff, or basically any of the data-driven projects. I would say 2/3 of a modeling project goes to the data infrastructure historically, and that's like fetching all the data, doing the normalization that Alessandro mentioned, and it easily took 3 to 6 months to do that kind of job when you sent that to the modeling company. And when we now have been talking about models that is updated on a regular basis, like weeks or monthly, we cannot have that kind of mod process at all. So what I'm going to show you is what we've done together with Supermetrics to build a quick overview of the steps we have gone through to actually do this. And the first one is, of course, using the connectors. We use Supermetrics on all the channels they support, which is mostly the digital channels. In addition, we have to connect to a few other connectors, which are basically local in Norway. Typically local tractors, TV meters, our own ERP system, which has a lot of data, and so on. Of course, why this is important for us to use Supermetrics is the manpower to build the connectors. If we should build a connector for instance, Facebook, we could count about 50 to 100 hours to do the job ourselves. Plus that there's a continuous changes in the API that makes us a lot of time as well. So this using Supermetrics helps us that we can keep our organization lean and small, and keep the pricing down for the clients. After pulling the data from the connectors, we are storing the data in our data warehouse. We have chosen Google Cloud BigQuery for that. And their Supermetrics has their direct connector to BigQuery, which is fully integrated and helps us a lot with the time. The great thing with using a data warehouse instead of getting it out in files is, of course, that you have a good possibility to store a lot of data, or a lot of historical data. And it also keeps us querying the data in a quick and efficient manner. That's also important when I now is going to talk about the automated process in the next step. Because even though you pull the data from the connectors, there's still a lot to do with the data. That's because it comes usually in different formats. It has different naming. It may have different granularity, day, week, month, different currencies, and so on. And that's why we enrich the data and normalize it through third-party sources as well to get it more smooth. I'll show you an example. An example is, for instance, costs. If you go to Facebook, it's spend. In other channels, it may be costs. In some channels, we don't have our local currency, so we have to convert that to Norwegian kroners. And everything should have the naming costs when it comes out of out to the model. Same thing with campaign. Campaign can be named in different ways, as campaign name, campaigns, or plan name, for instance. So that's typical issues we have to fix on the way. When we have done that, our next spot is actually then joining the data, which is also a major step. That's not only joining the channels we have pulled from the different channels, but also adding other data. On the next slide, for instance, clients' own data, sales, store visits, brand trackers. It can also be control variables that we need to use in the model. For instance, weather, as Geir has mentioned, traffic, share voice data from the vertical, and that kind of stuff. And when all this has been done, then we finally have something we can use in the model. But not just in the model, but also we can do the same data is then used in different types of reporting, dashboards. We can streamline the data, stream the data over to the clients. So when we've done all these steps, we have a data structure that is fairly flexible and platform agnostic, and can be used in more or less any model, any system, any dashboard solution that are provided by different vendors.
Yes, so I have the fun job of summarizing the technical part. We have collected spending in all of our channels for the last 3 years, as you can see here. The offline data goes straight to BigQuery. And as Jarle talked about, the online data is fetched by Supermetrics and is sent to BigQuery. So from here, we store the data in our data hub, and we get both sales and brand data sent from the clients. So this is the magic part that makes us able to keep running the model as often as needed, and to be able to use the result when we actually need them. And we are able to make the changes that we need to do with paid marketing as we go. So with all the data ready, the next step is our marketing mix model to see the results on both short and long term.
Thank you, Guy. So before we move on, we have the poll coming up that I promised. You have now seen how Supermetrics works and how Dentsu uses MMM with the help of Supermetrics. So let us know if you're interested in taking your first steps with data warehousing. Our team will reach out to you. So I will give you a couple of minutes to reply to the poll. And in this example, Dentsu used BigQuery, but we also have a lot of other data warehouse solutions that you can use with Supermetrics. So if you have, for example, a Snowflake or Redshift or some else data warehouse, so that is possible. All right, Guy, back to you.
Thank you. So firstly, we see how much of the sales that is base sales and how much is incremental. So here we see that 80% is base sales and incremental is 20%. So that means we can affect 20% of the sales short term with paid media. And the next part is to look at the share of spend that each channel has and compare it to the share each, if we go back, to look at the share each channel has on contribution to sales. So in this part of our analysis, we are quite pragmatic and focus on the channels that give us the most bang for the buck, which means the higher share of contribution, then share of spend, and we rank them based on that. But as you can see, the biggest part of the sales for most clients is base sales. So we want to see how much of the 80% we can affect with brand. So for this client, it's 33% we can affect by brand, and the other 47% is affected by price, product, placement, and other factors. So let's take it one step further and see how we can affect the 33% through paid media. So the last step is to split brand up into the different brand parameters that we have run the model on. In this case, we see that ad recall is the parameter that is affecting the brand the most. On each of the parameters, we get information on which of the channels that have a strong, medium, or low to none effects. So for this client, we have picked the channels that are strong on ad recall, and we see that it's TV, radio, and online video that does the best job. So what we now have seen here, just to take this, we compare what we have done both short and long term and get it together and get a mapping on how we should or can create the most effect for the clients long and short term.
So what are some channels that you typically see working well in the long term?
That's a very good question, but it's many different answers. So the important part here is that the model will look different from client to client. So on the models that we have run, we of course see that radio, TV, and out of home can be strong channels long term, and channels like paid search, Facebook, and Snapchat are short strong short term. But the fun thing is that we always get some surprises. So by setting it up in a visualization like this, it's a nice tool for the clients to use, as I said, both the long and short term. But maybe the most important part is to find which channels that doesn't have any effects, neither short or long term, that we can stop spending money on and rather put the money where we see the best effects.
Thank you. That's really interesting. Are there any limitations or considerations that companies should be aware of?
Well, we are still in a transition period. So, but we are seeing big players in the market like Facebook, Google. It's not a secret they are investing a lot in MMM, and MMM is starting to be more and more relevant for all the limitation in the user level tracking that we discussed in the beginning of this webinar. So we don't see restriction in terms of industry. We have seen different industry using MMM really successfully, like, I don't know, games, e-commerce, SaaS services. So there is nothing limitation in that. Of course, best value out of MMM is come from if you have really like a really like marketing complex setup. So if you are a company that you are working worldwide, you have marketing in all different countries, and you are using online, both offline and offline channels, that is where your MMM is getting the best value out, because how to get all the variable in and how to optimize all those variables. So this is really, but we have seen also smaller company maybe working just in one country, but already there, when you differentiate your spending in the different channels, you can already optimize the budget with MMM. So we haven't seen really like big, as I say, big limitations. But of course, as I say, we are really in transition period, and we are really to see what it will be the real like the winning solution in the market. What do you think, guys? What you have seen? Is there some additional things that you want to add, based on your experience with the direct customers?
I think it's really important what you say there. When you work across several countries, we have some clients that work in more than one country, and there are really big differences on how the different channels work in every country. So that has been very interesting to look at. Of course, we feel that we know a lot of the channels, but they work really different across different countries. So that's a really, really good insight we have gotten by running these models.
What about the creative of the campaigns? Or can you measure the quality of a campaign with MMM? Or that is a little bit too granular, and that is something that you are checking with different tools? Well, what is your experience?
That's also a very, very important part, because what this tells us is which channels that are the most effective. But an additional thing, as you correctly point out, we have no answers for the creatives that we use. If we have really good creatives, we can see a lot better results. And if the creatives are not that good, we might not see the good results that we see historically. So that's an important part that we, of course, should discuss further with the creative gang, but that is not something that we are able to answer by doing this.
Yeah, at least what we are seeing in the market and speaking with different players, where they really like, because in long term, that really like consider that everybody thinking that MMM will be useful tool to be used in combination with our existing tool. And there will be no really like different. There will be part integration tool, integrated tool in any kind of reporting tools or any kind. So you will have their unbiased solution that you can really like tell to the customer where is best to allocate the budget, what is the incrementality attribution that you can give to the different channel. It would be a third party unbiased solution. And will be used in combination with what you already use for marketing performance, for campaign level, and these kind of things. So I really see that in long term that is the what we will achieve with the MMM. Do you have anything to add, or we can go to the question? I think
we are ready for some questions.
Yeah. Also to the audience, if you didn't have time to answer to our poll yet, you still have time to do it now. I'm sure the audience has a lot of questions after listening to this interesting discussion. So Alessandro, Jarle, and Geir, feel free to pick up anything you want to answer.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of questions here. One of is asking is about, let's see, I lost the question. There was a question regarding how much do you have to spend? How many channels do you need to use to do this kind of modeling? The important thing is that we actually have control of all the marketing you do. That's the important thing. So if it's only digital channels or it's a lot of offline channels, we just need to have the control of the marketing budget and all the data we can get around that. In addition, of course, the model needs a lot of control variables. That is preference special for your type of client, you are. And so I would say MMM model with a decent amount of spending, it should be possible to make some sort of model for your type of the industry as well. It depends, of course, I think even though it's a small country, large country, that's not the big difference. The important thing is actually that there can be several types of models and not everyone is fit for your company, but that's something that's part of what we have to do when you do that kind of process.
What about the pricing? There is a question about the pricing. What is your experience?
Yeah, the pricing, of course, difficult to answer. Depends on how much data as well. How many channels do we have to work with? How much? So it's mostly manpower we're talking about. It's not a lot of tech fees. That's usually just a baseline fee and a recurring fee, monthly fee to keep them all running. But our experience is it's fairly cheaper than doing a traditional sales modeling, which many of you are used to.
Yeah, I can confirm that what we are seeing in the market is really like the emerging of this. As I say, automation will try to lower the price. Of course, if you go, there will be different sales point, different packages. But if you want to the super granular and customized solution for your brand, then probably the price it will be still remain. But if you go down a little bit in the spectrum and you will want to use MMM or standardized use case where we can automate the full input from the data perspective, then we can definitely lower the price. That is what we have seen in the market.
And of course, one factor also playing in here is actually we need data from the client as well, some sales data or other data, and how easily is that automated, which is also usually a big X factor in doing the modeling.
Yes. Any other question? There are questions about the algorithm. I will not go so deep, but let's say that they are pretty standard, what different MMM solutions. So MMM is really flexible. You can really tune and you will really customize according to your needs. So the general algorithms are pretty similar, are pretty standard. Is a Bayesian linear regression, or some you can use a little bit more sophisticated. But it's not really like the algorithm that you are using. It's more like how you customize, how you train the model according to your requirement. We have seen also different way in the market how people are calibrating the model. There are techniques used in the model himself to calibrate, and we have seen also customers that are using uplift empirical testing in order to see the results of the test are used as a calibration, as an input for calibration of the market. So there are different setups, and it's just starting to do what is best for you.
It's never a one-stop solution. And there's also always have to be some customization for the client doing the model. But there may be a one-stop solution to getting the data fetched out for the client, because that's fairly much easier today than it has been before. Another question which comes here is in regard to data and historic. For instance, due to the pandemic, how can we compare pandemic years compared to normal years? The question is there going to be a normal year after everyone has started using web shops much more since the pandemic? But that's of course an issue, and also an important control variable in many cases. We have to take into account the times shops and stores were closed, online sale, general stuff happening in the market. We see sort of shifts in what people bought in different times of the pandemic as well. So we have to take that in account. In addition, I can also mention that doing a good sales modeling, you actually need at least 3 years of data. Everything more is great. Do you have less? It's not so great. And in many cases, you will end up in a situation that we have to, let's say you are a fairly new client and we have not done any data fetching before. Many of the channels has a limitation of 2 years maximum to pull data from. So that would say that if we start pulling the data today, you're not ready for any modeling before next year at the same time. So both historical data is important. Great if you have something before the pandemic as well. But you also take a pandemic in account when we do the modeling.
There was also one question that would MMM work with a seasonal sales cycle, or would you need to do a longer sampling of data sets, like an entire year's worth of data?
That more or less also is a control variable. So seasonal sales is also has to be taken into account if that's important for your industry. As with the pandemic, we have to put that kind of numbers in and look into, for instance, Black Friday, Christmas sales, January sales, and that kind of sales has to be taken into account, and as is a part of the model as well.
There was a question about if you are a small e-commerce company that are allocating budget in few marketing channels, how can they test MMM? Yes. You can start. You can contact us. There was another question about how can we start. Well, you can contact Supermetrics or you can contact Dentsu in the end of this webinar, and we can give all the instruction how to proceed.
Should we take one more question? Here's one. What kinds of skills or talents do you need in your team to run MMM?
How big? Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So what kind of skills or talents do you need in your team to run MMM?
You need a good statistical background. That's of course important. And programming is fairly important. If you look at the teams, we are working across several countries with this. Both Norway and Finland and Lithuania has been fairly part of our project in Norway, and they are a wide range from a doctorate in political science to physicists to data engineers to. So you have, I think it's a broad spectrum, and no no background is wrong as long as you have some statistical knowledge, understanding, and basic good programming skill.
Okay, I guess we're coming up time. So if we didn't answer your question, no worries. We will contact you with email. And thank you guys for coming to our webinar, and hope you learned something about MMM. Hope to see you next time as well.
Thank you.